But then when I'm actually in my studio, and I actually put this in the book, I pause and take a few breaths and really set an intention for what I want to, to put into this work that day. And I do that when I'm getting ready to teach. When I'm getting ready to teach a class, I pause, take a few breaths, and really set an intention for teaching that day and how I want to show up for that, for my students and for the art itself. So that's my process. Um, and I just try to really surround myself with the community, which is also very inspiring, but with things that inspire me.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Naked Earth podcast. Today, I'm interviewing Sherri, who is an incredible jeweler running a studio out of her home in Canton, North Carolina called Studio 3. She's currently writing a book about how we can make our own process alchemy and alchemize ourselves through the journey of making art and making jewelry, making it accessible to all people when we need art now more than ever.
Yes.
So thank you for being here, Sherri. I'm really
Hello.
happy that you're
I'm
here.
happy to be here.
And a little context, I actually met Sherri when we studied in Florence, and we both took some classes together at a studio in Florence, doing some jewelry, and we just really bonded and on spirituality and the act of making jewelry and how life is meant to be lived and experienced in the present moment.
Yes, yes, we connected immediately, I felt like. And you really affected my whole trip. It made it just much brighter for me. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. It felt like it was a nice little slice of home. Uh, it's like your sweet twang. I was, in the cacophony of Italian sass. It was very comforting.
It was. It was for me too, because I was traveling alone. I was very far from home, and so it felt very comforting to have you there.
Yeah, you too. I'd love to hear. I'd love to start with you're writing a book, and your book is
Yeah.
called Metal Soul, and it's your philosophy of the alchemy of transformation. Can you tell me more about where this idea, how you were sharing with me earlier, how this idea just kind of came to you and you knew it was time to write this, and can you share with me?
It's been simmering inside me, I think, for a couple of decades, but it just was pieces of it simmer. I could see pieces of it. I knew I wanted to share my philosophies around art and creativity and spirituality in our inner life and how we transform ourselves as we create art. But I didn't have the full vision of it. And I think my life was just too busy. I raised my son by myself, and then, I had two parents who become elderly and ill, and I took care of them for a long time. And my life working a full-time job on top of teaching jewelry arts. So there wasn't room for that. So recently, the space just opened up and inspiration revisited me because I do think it come to visit me shortly for this book, and then it came back with came rushing back, and the time was right. And I do believe that inspiration visits us, and if we're not ready, it may try to find another collaborator. I'm so glad it didn't. I think it waited on me, and I'm
Yeah.
very happy about that because we're collaborating very well together now. And the book it just came out of me very fast within probably a couple of months. I've been waking up at 4 a.m. and just excited to get to the computer and write, and because it needed to come out of me. And so it happened very fast, and I'm very excited about it.
Do you have a estimated uh launch day
I
for
don't.
publishing?
I'm just now starting to talk to publishers, so we'll see how that goes. I feel pretty confident about it. I don't know of any book like this, and goodness knows I've got a huge bookshelf in my private studio of all kinds of books about metalsmithing and jewelry arts, but nothing. I actually wrote a book I wanted to read
Mm,
because I bought books over the years and it's all about technique, but not really about how we show up with our art, who we are as an artist, and how we collaborate with inspiration. I don't want to just create. You and I were talking about joy earlier. I want to be happy in the process of creation. I want to be joyful. And if I'm stressed and I'm not mindful of where I'm at with the piece, I think it shows up in the art. So I'm trying to be very conscious of that. But over the years of making jewelry, I've learned, and teaching it for so many years, I've learned so much about that process, and I'm bringing that out, I think, in the book.
would you say you have developed a kind of process or technique to get you into the zone to be able to channel spirit into your art? Or tell me more about your process with that.
I think my process is daily because I live a very conscious. I try to spend time in meditation, very, even if it's just briefly every day. I practice yoga often. I just live my life in a very intentional way. And I surround myself with people and things that inspire me. So I feel like I'm keeping that door open to inspiration. But then when I'm actually in my studio, and I actually put this in the book, I pause and take a few breaths and really set an intention for what I want to, put into this work that day. And I do that when I'm getting ready to teach. When I'm getting ready to teach a class, I pause, take a few breaths, and really set an intention for teaching that day and how I want to show up for that, for my students and for the art itself. So that's my process, and I just try to really surround myself with the community, which is also very inspiring, but with things that inspire me.
What are some things that inspire you that you have?
Well, turquoise.
You are the turquoise queen.
Um, and that started early in my jewelry journey because my guru, I should say, and they actually called him Turquoise Bill. He was a lapidarius too and a jewelry artist, and he was a turquoise freak like me, and he cut turquoise, and he would just give me pieces of turquoise, and I still have pieces he made, and he's been gone a while, but he just opened this door to me, and I just fell in love with that stone, and I'm still in love with it. I'm still in love with it, and I that's another piece when I create, I try to be true to myself. It's like I put what I love into it and not what I think people want, but I have to be true to myself. So, most of what I make has turquoise because that's what I wanna do. So, I love pieces of things from nature. So I surround myself with that. I have just things I like.
Yeah.
My home is very minimal, but it's also very intentional. And so is my studios. So I have created a sacred space, and I try to keep the space sacred. So both studios, I have a private studios in my home, and then the school is separate from my home, but it's nearby. And both spaces I try to keep sacred. And they're only for art and creativity. Nothing else happens in those spaces because I can do that, and that's intentional for me, is that this is a space where I get to come and be creative. But I also it's a space I need to create a space that I wanna be in. Like, I wanna be there. I can't wait to be in that space. So, that's kind of my process.
Yeah. Sounds like you're like this combination of creating a beautiful, intentional, sacred space, taking pauses before you create and like start something. And that's actually something that I teach with the flute playing for people. Like I'll hear people play the flute and they just want to da 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 and play the flute, but then as soon as they just take a deep breath before they do it and come into themselves, their song completely changes. And it sounds like you're kind of doing the same thing with your practice and your jewelry.
Yes. And I think
Yeah.
that's presence, being very present with it. I another piece that I also am sharing in the book is gratitude. I think gratitude is like my direct links to something bigger than myself. So I practice gratitude very intentionally too. It's kind of my prayer, what I'm grateful for every day, and I just kind of celebrate. Another thing that I have put in the book is our community, celebrating our art, celebrating who we are, our journeys, where we've been, where we are, where we're going, just celebrating life and art. And that's a piece that I'm like, I think we do that well as a community at Studio 3, because we lift each other up. We're always cheering each other on, and we're celebrating what we create together and what we've created as a community together. Because I don't know what my art would be without community. Just because for me, I need to be able to share it, and it needs a place to be and to be appreciated. So I do create in isolation sometimes, but I love to create in community. And I think that's why other people come to Studio 3 is because they love to create in community. A lot of us have our own private studios that we do create in isolation sometimes, but the community is, I think, what keeps feeding our soul. And so we come back together often.
I think it's kinda easier to create in community too because you have all the things going for you. You have the other people with the same mindset of going in to create something. You have the celebration, you have, like, the camaraderie and
Yes.
that connection. I remember that was something that really stood out to me when we spent time in Florence together, of your stories of your studio. Like, you took this trip for you to reconnect with your jewelry making. But so many of the stories that you shared were from your community and from the things that you've done in your hometown. It just so inspired me, and that's really why I wanted to bring you on because I feel like you've really been an example of what it can mean to really be a leader and a pillar in your community. And similar to like indigenous cultures and indigenous communities, there's like the pillars, you know, and they hold the space. And I just really felt that energy from you where you have your studio, you have the space. And I can tell, even though I haven't had the pleasure of attending your classes yet, I can just tell from your presence and embodiment and all the stories that I've seen from other people attending your classes that you really hold a sacred container.
I do, and I'm very honored to be able to do that. I'm very honored. But I think staying humble has helps me in that process. I don't see myself separate really from my community when it comes to that. And I don't that's the beauty in what I do is the community. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where I would be without my community, without my student. And I didn't plan that when I first started taking classes in jewelry arts early in my early 20s, and I'll be 63 in a few months. So that tells you how long I've been doing it. The community at that school was everything. It's where I met Turquoise Bill, and we all became this community. And we had cookouts together after class sometimes, and it it really fed my soul. And absolutely loved creating, and I fell in love with the art, but I also fell in love with the community. And so then later, 10 years later, when I was asked to teach at that same school, I was very honored and excited to do that. And that started my teaching career. I didn't plan that, but boy, what a gift it has given me. I feel so blessed. And that's how I bask in that gratitude every day. It's like I feel very, very blessed. And it's because of the people around me and what the art in the studio has attracted. And it's a beautiful thing to celebrate. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. That community is priceless. What would you say to somebody who may be struggling to find a community and who has that artist spirit? You know, we have these kind of stories of like, I'm not understood, or, you know, I want to be in my own space and create because it's a little easier. What would you say to somebody looking for something like
Take some classes, find your tribe,
that?
take take some classes and connect with others. I know a lot of my students, especially those that have been with me a while, have their own studio space, but they still take a lot of classes from me. Not just to learn technique though. Sometimes I have students who I'm like, "You know how to do this." And I'm like, "I wanted to be here." So it's not just about learning new things, it's about being with people and sharing ourselves and our expression and our art. Yeah. So I would encourage somebody to take a class and find their community. The joy it's brought me, I can't imagine not having that. So,
Yeah, you really radiate it. It's
yeah,
infectious. Yeah.
it is. It actually is. And I don't, my students, like you said, you've seen when I post something, they're all very excited and encouraging and pretty much celebrating the whole process of just being there, learning something new, yes, and very excited about what they've created, but also who they got to share that with in the community.
Makes the memory even deeper.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Earlier, you said that part of your philosophy of this book that you're writing is that we're not just making art, we're making ourselves. And I'd love if you could elaborate a little bit more on maybe if you were speaking to someone who thinks, why would I even make art? Art's, I can just, draw something, or somebody that maybe doesn't see the value in the art. How would you describe it to them?
Because I feel like there are things that I can't articulate that I can express through art, things that don't have words. And that art, we experience art differently than we experience somebody or, saying something to us. So I think art is a type of expression that is beyond words. So I think it connects me to something bigger than myself. And I enjoy that immensely because I live my life, try to live my life in spirit. So that helps me in that process. But I feel like what I'm trying to share in the book is that through all these years of teaching and creating, I have learned so much about myself. And I put those pieces in the book. The things I've learned about myself, like setting an intention and the value of creativity in my life and gratitude and inspiration, how it visits me and then will take off if I'm not ready. And that's why sometimes I think people will say, "That I had that idea." Somebody
Mhm.
else has created it. I'm like, well, you weren't ready to collaborate. So the ideas are floating around everywhere. They're not ours. They
Yeah, we're
visit
almost
us.
like antennas, and the ideas like can come
Yes.
bounce in. It's like, are you ready? Or it'll just keep flying away.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if I'm intentional about some of these aspects that I am sharing in the book, like intention and gratitude and inspiration, that's just a few of the many chapters in the book. If I'm intentional about it and I'm conscious of how that element of inner transformation can work inside me as I'm creating art. Gosh, I wish I had known that years ago, but I've learned it naturally on my journey just by reflection and working on myself. But I would love it. I would have loved it if somebody had shared that with me. That's why I want to share it.
If you could go back and tell your younger self who's, in this jewelry school, no idea where this is gonna take you, what would you tell her?
Wow. You're ready for a ride. I mean, beautiful ride actually. Can't think of any part of this journey that I would actually change though because it has fed my soul so much and I feel so rich from it. It has also taught me that living a rich life is not really about having money. It's about having love and community and connection. It's really about connection. Um, so, and I think the inner transformation or the inner alchemy is about connecting with ourselves as we connect with our art. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, I mean, it's philosophy, it's philosophical. You could debate it, you could go in deeper, it's I'm hearing you share, like, that just through your life experience and through your own process of spending years making jewelry and connecting with people, it sounds like you've kind of landed in these foundational pillars. What it means to be beyond an artist. And what I mean is like being beyond the maker, but becoming an artist.
Yeah, and that's true alchemy. I mean, the early alchemists, it was a mystical and spiritual experience too. The early alchemists believed that they could take something ordinary and turn it into something extraordinary, like lead to gold. And they also believed that that was a mystical practice. So I believe that too, that I can transform myself as and art just happens to be a beautiful conduit for that. But it's a mystical practice, it's a spiritual practice, it's a science. So it's definitely all of those things.
How is it science? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, the actual art of metalsmithing is science, and I think that's what I'm trying to get across. It's science and it's mystical
How do
and
you
spiritual.
feel like you have transformed yourself from lead to gold over these years?
Boy, through the art?
It's all of it. Your life is the art, and your art is your life.
Well, I've always wanted, just like I've always wanted to create the best version of art that I could. I've always wanted to be the best version of myself that I could. And that's both of those things are a process. I'm never going to master either one. My art is always going to have imperfections, just like myself. But if I continue to stay open, if I continue to be hungry for information and for being better and better, and not in a way that seems stressful, because it's not stressful, it's actually exciting. To me, it's exciting to show up in a way that is very intentional and loving and kind, and not only to myself, but to my community and to the art. I know it seems like loving and kind to the art, but what I've witnessed over the years is people are so hard on themselves. Like, and that's something I try to teach also, is that to be kinder and gentler to yourself as you're learning how to create, because you're also learning how to be in this creation and being mindful of that. But I just don't want it's hard for me to watch people who are anxious in the process. I want them to be able to slow down, to be patient with the process and patient with themselves, to not expect perfection, but progress, and to try to find some, to try to have joy in this process, because we're always about the outcome. We're always looking at how the outcome, which is external, but what about the internal outcome? So
Mhm.
for it to be truly joyful, the internal outcome has to be as good as the external. So that's that transformation process for me. It's like I can go downstairs, after all these years, I can go down to my private studio and make anything I want. I've achieved, but am I in that process? I want to be very grateful and intentional and joyful and celebrate the ability to be able to do what I do. And I think that's where some of my students lose it. I was like, "Do you realize what you just did? You just created this beautiful piece of jewelry and you found one imperfection in it and you're giving yourself a hard time." It's like celebrate what you're doing and celebrate who you are in it. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And I've tried to organize the book where it makes a lot of sense, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, what's coming through for me right now is like when you're making these pieces and when you're teaching other people to make these pieces from this place, it's almost like you're making talismans or like ancient artifacts that hold power. Cause like when
Yes.
at least when I make things, it's like when I make it and when I am anxious or if I'm upset and frustrated and I'm carving something, I don't like it. It feels dull. It almost feels lifeless. It may look pretty, it may look nice, but then when we make something that where we are coming from that place, that those pieces are going to live and carry your soul and your spirit way beyond you. They're gonna hold a piece of you, and I think that's kind of the difference of
And
being a maker and an artist.
it has an energy. It has an
Yeah.
energy. And what do we want? What kind of energy we want to put into it? And it's going to be here. A lot of our art will be here way longer than we are. I mean, centuries. So it's a testimony to life. So, what am I going to breathe into it? My anxiety, my lack of self worth, my disrespect for myself. I mean, those are not the things I want to breathe into my art. If somebody's going to take a ring of mine and wear it, I want to breathe love and kindness and gentleness into that art, not anxiety or worry that it's not perfect.
They'll
So,
feel it. They feel it. You know,
yeah, but
when you
to be
wear
able to
something.
do that, we have to work on ourselves. There's an inner transformation happening
Mm.
and a mindfulness that I'm conscious and I'm very intentional. I'm very present with this art. It's a privilege to create art. And that's another thing that I want my students to understand is that not only are we very privileged to have Studio 3 and I'm privileged to be and honored to have created that space, but every time tonight when we have a class, every time we create something, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be in the community. It's something to celebrate. It is it's everybody doesn't get to do this. And and goodness, let's be grateful and be that in our work. So that's what I'm trying, that's what I'm trying to breathe into this book too, is that we are what we create. We create what we are. So
That makes me think of if you've ever heard I don't know if it's a quote or a theory, but about money and that like money itself isn't inherently evil, but the more money that you have, the more like it just reveals more of who you are. Like if you're already a selfish person, you're going to do selfish things with your finances. Like if you're already a generous, kind, giving person, like that's just going to expand. And that kind of sounds like what, you're sharing. It's like, but with creating something new, something that didn't exist before, that only existed in your mind and soul for the world, that is completely unique than anything else that there is in the world.
yeah, I mean, is that
That's a miracle.
it is a miracle. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to take a sheet of metal and turn it into something that somebody can wear on their like close to their heart or on their hands or arm. I mean, that's a beautiful transformation. And can we be conscious of what's happening inside of us as we're creating this? And can we be intentional about what we put into the work and how we show up with it? Yeah.
What do you feel or has seen in your experience of teaching people the biggest obstacle that gets in the way of people accessing this part of themselves?
Fear of not being good enough, and they're all good enough. I mean, everybody has a strength. And if we can just find that strength and use it and put it in our art and comparison to other people. That's and I think that's worse when I first started making jewelry, there was no social media.
Yeah.
So we only had the very small community. So there wasn't so much comparison to what other people are doing. This world we live in now can be very hard on an artist because at the tip of our fingers, we have access to all these other artists and what they're doing. I hope that I can coach some of my students to be true to themselves, to be true to their own voice, to be close to what lights them up and let that lead their art. Because whatever they have to say, somebody needs to hear it and forget about what everybody else is doing over there. Just be true to you because what you have to say is important. And that's what I would like to share too with them because I mean, I have gotten past that being hard on myself. A lot of it has to do with my age, but also my journey of being a creator for so many years and a teacher. But my students, a lot of them really struggle with that. Lack of self-confidence and just being true to themselves, taking their power back. Quit giving your power up to other people. Take it back, own it, and show up.
One of my favorite quotes from my mentor, Kevin Walton, he always says, "Power is not something you have, and it's not something somebody can give you, power is something that you are. Just
Yes.
being is power. And so
Yes.
you can't give it away. You can't take it from somebody else. It's just always within you all the time. And it's up to you if you give it permission to exist or not.
Yes. It's owning yourself, owning who you are unapologetically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would like to see art come out that way. It's like this is this is my stuff. Like it or leave it, but this is what I'm saying. And there's always going to be someone who loves it and needs it. Always.
Yeah. I feel like I needed to hear what you're saying right now. I'm been kind of taking a hiatus of creating because all of my creating my whole life was surrounded by making it to sell it and making it as a business. It's been my career my whole life, making art, selling it, making it, selling it, focusing on like making things beautiful. And then like, but always the ones that I put the juice in and the intention were the ones that sold. But I'm in this period right now where I'm focusing on creating a business, that supports things I believe in outside of just,
Mhm.
and yeah, I feel like I needed to hear this too, just myself of, what I'm really soaking in and taking away of what you're sharing right now is like doing it for me, not giving a crap what it looks like or what the subject matter is or what kind of medium I'm using. I can do stone, wood, drawing, clay. It doesn't matter. But like what feels the best and like what wants to come out of my soul for the sake of that expression and honoring that channel like you're talking about. You keep saying like meeting and receiving your creativity. Like the way you talk about it is a relationship, not just
That's definitely
I am inspired. I forget the word that you keep using, but it's along the lines of almost like shaking hands with spirit. And then acknowledging a path, like, "All right, you're giving me this idea, thank you so much." It's this, like, reciprocation.
yes, it's a relationship with the divine. And when ideas come to me, I am like, "Whoa, thank you. That's coming through me. It came from somewhere else, honestly." And I feel honored. I feel honored when, well, inspiration is spirit. So when it visits me, I'm like, "Whoa, thank you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I will do my best to honor this, and I will do my best to bring it to the world and be true to myself in the process."
Yeah. It's like it's in harmony, it's you're gonna have a part of you in it, and spirit's gonna have what it has to say about it.
Well, it's coming through me. If we can create for ourselves, I really believe that there will always be someone who needs it. Always. So whatever you do it for yourself.
Yeah. What would
Do
you
do
say
do it to feed your soul.
Yeah, how do you hold on to that when everything outside is chaotic? Or even just taking those 5 minutes, to shower in the morning or some of the when you were in those kinds of spaces in your life to come back to that practice.
I just keep showing up, even if it's hard. I think I've definitely had times in my life where I'm less inspired, especially if I've got something stressful going on. And I've been like lately I've been so inspired and there's so much chaos in the world. I'm like, why am I so inspired right now? But I think it's because it heals me. It's keeping me healthy. And because I keep that open. Inspiration knows if it visits me, I'm going to honor it the best I can. And even if it's something, I've had a lot of ideas that could not come to fruition because it wasn't the right time for me, but I'm still like, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for visiting me for the gift. It's a gift.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage too to follow those inspirations and following your intuition. Especially sometimes, like, the ideas are kinda they can be a little wild sometimes,
They
and
can't.
those yeah, like, do you experience your connection to source when you receive these messages and inspirations only about your art, or do you also experience it in all areas of your life?
Wow, I've never been asked that question before. I think I do everything in my life very creatively. I think it probably visits me in a lot of different arenas, even at work and my job outside of art. My creativity shows up there too. And if I look around me, there's art everywhere. God's art, nature, it's everywhere. And I can't, if you take that away, life would be pretty dull. So I just think we need to look at art differently, and at creativity differently, because everything we do, we're being creative. Everything we do. When you go in the kitchen and cook a meal, you're being creative. When you clean your house, you're being creative. When you decorate your house, you're being creative. Students come to me and they're like, I'm not very creative. And I'm like, oh, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Actually, you couldn't have got as far as you have in this world if you hadn't been creative. So innovation is all around us.
I was asking if you feel like you receive the messages and channels from spirit about your art in other areas of life. Because I asked that because I share this experience with you as an artist. Like, I also experience this in my life, and I also experience it as really strong intuitions. Like,
Oh, yeah.
for example, it's like, "You should move to Barcelona," and I'm like, "What the like, why go to Barcelona? I don't know, this doesn't make sense," but it keeps telling me, and it's this, like, I have to listen to it, and I had no idea what was here, and now that we've been here, it almost feels like the home I've been searching for my whole entire life, and
Yes.
I had no idea, I've never been here before. It's
Yes.
wild, but if I didn't have that courage to follow that little nudge in the back of my head, I don't know where.
I think it's the same connection. I think it's your divine or higher power speaking. That's what I consider an intuition, is something bigger than myself sending me a message. So I definitely have that in my life. And so it's comes through in all different sources, I'm sure. It's just the expression of it is also different too. But I just see art everywhere I look. It's just the way my brain works. And I feel very blessed by that, actually. And I feel very blessed to have had this book visit me. And I've written it for me. And I can only hope that I get to share it. Because I do have those doubts like you were talking about. I will have a moment of doubt, like, who is gonna want to read this? And then I read it and I'm like, well, I do. Uh Other people are gonna want to.
Yeah.
So, I
We're
think it's our
also, like,
human nature for some crap to show up like doubt,
yeah.
and I have to shoo it away. The critic, the inner critic. Can't get rid of the inner critic, but it doesn't have to be in the driver's seat. So, it's gonna go along for the ride, but it does not have to be in the driver's seat.
No, it's a choice.
So, I try to stay connected to my muse, and the muse is saying, "Go for it."
They're in your corner rooting for you.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause when I hear the critic, I'll say, "Okay, what does the is my muse saying?" And my muse is always cheering me on.
I feel like that'd be a beautiful art painting of, like, somebody, but, like, I'm imagining almost like those, angel devil voices,
Yeah.
but, like, the muse, like, a really beautiful, like, Venus, and then the critic, and it's somebody like a grumpy teacher or something.
I have done these classes where I've asked my students, it's a particular class that I've done in the past called Discover Your Inner Artist, but I've asked the class to journal, what their critic says to them. And they don't know that the next part of this exercise is to journal what the muse, that what love says to them. And the profound difference is amazing. And some of the horrible things that people hear themselves say or hear the critics say to them is really sad. And so then we look at what the muse says, and it's beautiful and encouraging and loving and kind. And then we're like, which one of these are we going to cultivate? And which one are we going to listen to? And I think that has to be very intentional because they're both there. They're both there, but which one am I going to feed the most? And that would be the muse. And For me, that's the muse. Yeah.
Rest of the week. I'm
Do
gonna
what?
do that practice and I'm gonna text it to you.
Yes, do. I would love it. I would love it because I think what it when it helps individuals is because 'cause they're not even really aware of the awful things that are being their critic is saying. "You can't do this, you never" just, "You're terrible at this. You're so stupid," and just horrible things. And then we pause and take a few breaths and get connected to our muse, and then it's like, "You can do anything you want. You're amazing, you're beautiful," and I was like I mean, it brings tears to our eyes. We're like, that's the part we wanna cultivate. That's the part we wanna stay connected to, and I think that's when inspiration shows up because inspiration knows it can work with that. Can't work with the critic.
No. No, because why who actually wants those things to come to fruition and to create more? I feel like that's what we're all really searching for is more safety, significance, love, acceptance. I feel like we all really want it. Even people who may
Yes.
seem cruel and who may do awful things, I feel, it's just fear
Disconnection.
or, yeah, disconnection or courage to follow the positive voice.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any classes or anything exciting coming up for you at the end of this year or beginning of next year?
I have a lot of exciting classes coming up, and I'm trying to organize my classes around more of the inner transformation. It's all tech, we're going to be creating jewelry pieces, but we're also the actual workshop descriptions and things is really about some inner transformation, about the inner alchemy also, cuz I don't want to separate those anymore, and I want to really I'm being true to myself when I do this, is that I really want to help my students blend those two together, the inner and the outer alchemy. So the classes, the descriptions are a little different and I'm excited about that. I'm also launching Metal Soul as a class. So we can be booked for a team retreat. I've already got one team retreat booked or we can do any kind of gathering that somebody wants to be doing something creative and intentional. So Metal Soul can be booked for that. So I'm launching that. It's like once I was able to write the preface to the book, then the rest of it just came out. It was incredible. It was like it was coming faster than I could write it. So I love it when I am collaborating that way with creativity and the divine.
It's so much easier.
Yeah. But I really feel like when the time's right, then it does flow. Um,
Yeah.
and when we're connected
We
to
have
our
to trust
muse
in that.
instead of our critic.
Yeah, we have to trust in the timing sometimes.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. Cool. So I end every podcast with this one question. I invite you to just close your eyes and take a deep breath into the nose, exhale out the mouth, into the nose, exhale out the mouth, and imagining that you are a drop of water, that your life carries these ripples outside of you as you land into the water. And each ring is a next generation after you. Imagining out to the seventh ring beyond you, to the next 7 generations after you. What message of your spirit do you want to be carried on to the next 7 generations?
That's easy. Just pure love, just love. Because I feel like when I love, when I can love, when I'm open to love, when I'm living in love, everything else is just icing on the cake. So, yeah. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very
My
happy.
pleasure. you're
Absolutely.
you're too good of a human to not be seen.
Thank you.
Just
That's very sweet.
yeah.
You are too.
Thank you.
That's why we connect.
Exactly. Like minds think alike and
Yes.
similar energies connect to each other and just
Sometimes
trust.
it's like a collision.
Yeah. Awesome. If you want to take any courses by Sherry, which I highly recommend, you can find her website and contact info down in the description. And thank you so much for being here today. Big hugs, big love. We'll see you next time.
Namaste.